Neil Orfield here, founder of the Flanderverse. If you don't know me, all you really need to know is that I am obsessed with fantasy sports. I've been playing for decades and have won a lot of money at it, especially in DFS, where I've won the NFL Millie Maker on DraftKings. And if you remove the Millie Maker, I'd still be up hundreds of thousands of dollars with a dozen wins of $90,000 or more. In the past, I've primarily been a hand builder and an optimizer user, and I still think you can win that way. But in 2025, I think that's playing on hard mode. So this year, I've upped my game. I've partnered with Run the Sims, and throughout this NFL season, I'll be demonstrating how I'm using Run the Sims to try to win a lot of money again in 2025. I hope you'll join me and that we'll win a lot of money together. If you're interested in checking out Run the Sims, I've got some great news. If you use promo code Neil, you can get 50% off your first payment on any NFL product at Run the Sims. By the way, if you could, please do like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the NFL season, and I could really use your support. One small bit of housekeeping before we get started here. I want to note that I'm going to be traveling next week. I might not have all of my regular content out at all. And even if I do have it out, it might be different timing than usual. So I just wanted to get ahead of that, let people know that, if you look for this content weekly, it might not be here for week 15. I'll be back for sure in week 16, and I might get some of the content out in week 15. Just want to let people know that it might not all be the same next week. Run the Sims is very customizable, and I will be customizing some things. I'll be making some changes to the inputs. You can make changes to the inputs at the team level, the player level, however many inputs you want to make. You can change the number of points you expect a team to score, the number of plays you expect them to run, the rush rate versus pass rate. You can change things at the individual level in terms of the rushing market share, touchdown market share, receiving, et cetera, et cetera. All of that is customizable. But for my first run of the Sims, I don't like to make any changes to the inputs because I want to see what I'm going to get naturally from the Run the Sims team. Some of the best DFS players in the world are running Run the Sims. So I want to see what I would get just using their inputs, and then I'll probably adjust after I see, but I don't really know what I need to adjust until I see what I get naturally using Run the Sims if I want to adjust anything at all. So for my first run of the Sims, I don't change anything in the inputs. What I do change is the settings. I'm just going to set it to, I'm playing for the largest field contest. So I'm going to set the number of lineups to 10,000, the size of the contest field also to 15,000. That's the maximum you can do here. You want to set this to whatever is closest to the contest that you are playing. Number of simulations, I'm going to use the maximum 10,000. Payout structure, I'm going to choose top heavy because typically the large field contests that I'm playing in are top heavy payout structures. I'm not going to change anything within the global stacks or the lineups fields. That's because they do play-by-play sims as well as contest level sims. So the play-by-play sims should account for any kind of correlation, or I should say the contest level sims should show that the lineups that are best correlated are going to end up popping to the top most of the time. So you're naturally going to get stacks, and they're going to be stacked appropriately as much as they should be. Whereas if I try to tell it, I always want 2-man stacks or 3-man stacks or 1-man stacks, it's not going to be as precise if I try to tell the sims what I want my lineups to look like. I want the sims instead to be telling me these are the types of lineups that pop to the top most often. It's a double stack with JJ McCarthy. I don't know why JJ McCarthy is the example I'm using, but it's going to tell you which quarterback should be double stack, triple stack, or which lineups pop to the top most often with different types of stacks. It's also going to generally most of the lineups that pop to the top are going to use something close to the top of the salary range, because those are just usually going to be lineups that project really well and do really well in the long term. But occasionally maybe there's going to be a lineup that only uses $48,000 in salary that ends up doing really well on some given slate. I don't want to set a rule that says don't give me any lineups below 49,000 just in case those are the lineups that popped to the top this week in the Sims. So I generally don't set a ton of rules in my Sims. I want the Sims to be showing me what looks good. The only thing that I do is I click the Shady Portfolio Optimizer button. This is an add-on tool from Shady Advice, one of the best DFS players in the world. And what really sets him apart from other pros is his portfolio diversification. The tool is going to give me a portfolio of lineups that is going to be the best portfolio EV, rather than just giving me, so if I set it to 150, rather than just giving me the top 150 EV lineups in order, it's going to give me the best portfolio of 150 lineups that doesn't cannibalize each other. It's going to minimize your risk of ruin, look the best in the long term. I'm just setting it at 150 because that is the max you can play in most contests. You can set this up to 300 if you want to, or if you're only playing 20 lineups, you can set it at 20, but I'm going to set that at 150. And then I'm going to click the SimRunner Pro button up here to get the Sims running. This will take a few minutes. I'm going to cut that part out of the video. All right, first set of lineups are in. I'm just going to read off the top few lineups Then I'll take a look at my player exposures. Do want to note, you can see in the EV column over here that my lineups are not in order of EV. That's because I use the Shady Portfolio Optimizer tool. So again, it's not giving me just the top 150 in terms of EV. It's giving me the best portfolio. But if you don't use a Shady Portfolio Optimizer, you'll just get them in order of EV. Regardless, you're getting a lot of top EV lineups at the top. The top overall, Tyler Shuck, single stacked with Devon Vele, also has RJ Harvey, Bijan Robinson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Trey Tucker, Brock Bowers, Luther Burden, and the Broncos defense. The next 5 lineups here are all Daniel Jones stacks. I'm just going to read off the top couple. So the first one of the Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones double stacked with Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman. Doesn't have any Jaguars bringbacks. Does have James Cook, Devin Achane, Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely, Luther Burden, and the Browns defense. And then the third lineup here is Daniel Jones triple stacked with Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, and Tyler Warren. Again, doesn't have any Jaguars bringbacks. Does have Kenneth Walker, Ashton Genty, Cortland Sutton, Trey McBride, and the Titans defense. Quarterbacks I'm getting to in double digits. Lamar Jackson, 11%, 20% of Daniel Jones, 13% Sam Darnold, 10% Tyler Shuck. That's it as far as double-digit quarterbacks. Running backs getting to 33% Devin Achane, 30% James Cook, 32% Bijan Robinson, 13% Jonathan Taylor, 19% Ashton Genty, 14% RJ Harvey, 10% Breece Hall. Wide receivers, I'm getting to 26% Jackson Smith and Jigba, 51% Luther Burden, 19% Michael Wilson, 23% Alec Pierce, 25% Michael Pittman, 20% Zay Flowers, 13% Chris Olave, 19% Trey Tucker, 13% Olamide Zaccheaus. Tight ends, I'm getting to 24% Trey McBride, 24% Brock Bowers, 27% Tyler Warren, 12% Kyle Pitts, 11% Dalton Kincaid, 13% Jawan Johnson, 15% Isaiah Likely. And defenses, I'm getting to 23% of the Broncos, 18% of the Browns. No other defenses in double digits, pretty spread out there. So I'm not going to make changes to all of the players that I'm thinking about making changes to in the Sims. I'm going to go over some that I have interest in and then just make changes to a few. So Josh Allen at 14% projected ownership. Like, I'm interested in Josh Allen. I think that's a fun game environment. Obviously, it's the highest game total on the slate. The Bills and the Bengals could really go off. So only having 2% Josh Allen is a risk for sure, and one that I'm not sure I'm going to land on just 2% Josh Allen. So I might boost him a little bit, just because I think that is such a strong game environment. But it's obviously it's one that everybody's getting to 14% projected ownership. So I'm not sure that that's going to be a big focus for me. I do like Daniel Jones quite a bit. I think that's a game, the Colts and the Jaguars, that could have a lot of potential, and he's only projected for 3% ownership here. So I'm happy that I'm getting to 20%. I think that makes a lot of sense. Sam Darnold, I'm getting to 13%. He's another quarterback I've been planning on targeting, getting 8% per set. So in general, I'm getting to most of the quarterbacks that I am planning on targeting. The ones that I might boost, Baker Mayfield at 5,800. I have interest there. I think that's a game that, it's in Tampa Bay. I think they might have some success. So I think that Baker is one. I think I actually will make adjustments to Baker in this run of the Sims. And then Matthew Stafford, 6,900, a little bit too expensive, but also that's a game environment that could end up being really good. So I could boost that. But I think the only two that I'm actually going to boost in this run of the Sims are Baker Mayfield, like I said, and then Jordan Love to me is pretty fun. The Bears are just a really great spot for opposing quarterbacks and wide receivers in particular. With Tucker Kraft out, the Packers don't really have a relevant tight end anyway. So I think just targeting Packers stacks with primarily Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. Maybe you can mix in Dontavian Wicks. Kind of depends on who else is available on the Packers. I think regardless of the status of Jaden Reed and Matthew Golden, you can target Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. I think if either of them ends up playing Golden or Reed, I'm probably not going to play as much, or maybe any Dontavian Wicks. If both are out again, then I think Dontavian Wicks would also be a receiver I'm mixing into those. But generally, I like Jordan Love stacks with Christian Watson and or Romeo Doubs. So I'll be boosting up the Packers passing game a little bit. At running back, I don't really have any hot takes this week. I think James Cook looks great. The field is playing James Cook, so don't really need to get too different there. I'd be happy to be above 30% of the field is getting to. Right now, I'm right with the field. I'm pretty happy with that with James Cook. Devin Achane, similarly, nice spot here. He's expensive, but I'm still getting 33%. Happy to get all of the Achane, Bijan Robinson. So generally, I'm getting to the running backs that I think are the best running back plays on the slate. I'm giving some thought to Quinshon Judkins as a running back that I want to boost a little bit, especially if Dylan Sampson misses. I think there's potential that he could be slightly more involved in the passing game. So at 6,400, 14% ownership isn't low enough that I'm super excited. Like, it's not a contrarian play, but if Dylan Sampson misses, I might end up giving a little boost to Quinshon Judkins. I don't think I feel strongly enough about it to do it if Sampson is active. Kenneth Walker, 5,600, nice price tag. He's getting some ownership. I might want slightly more there. I think where I will make boosts here are Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs. I think those are the two running backs that I'm most interested in, that I'm currently not getting to a ton of. Derrick Henry, I think, is just in a pretty good spot here. He's 7,500, only projected for 8% ownership, and I think he could break off for a big game here. Kind of a wide range of outcomes. Josh Jacobs, I obviously love that Packers game environment in general. He's getting a ton of ownership. 6,800, nice price tag there. I guess I don't need to get too much more than this. If he's going to get 26% ownership, I guess I can play the leverage game with the passing game instead on the Packers. But 6% feels a bit light. And then actually, I do really like Aaron Jones here. I think he's shown a little bit of a rapport with JJ McCarthy, one of the few players who has actually looked good in games with JJ McCarthy. He's only 5,300. Nice matchup with the Commanders. So I think I will boost up Aaron Jones just a little bit as well. Actually, one more, Bucky Irving, 7,000. I think it's a nice price tag. He's already taken on his big workload once again. He is getting 13% ownership, so it's not a really contrarian play, but I think I'll boost up Bucky Irving on this slate. Wide receiver, a lot of things look pretty good. I'm happy to be well over the field on Luther Burden. I don't know that I need 51% Luther Burden. I do think he's a talented receiver. We haven't really seen him put it all together for a full game yet, but with Rome Odunze out, he obviously looks great. I think he's going to be targeted heavily. I think he's a really talented receiver. It's not a great matchup with the Packers, but again, that's a game environment that I'm attacking. So happy to get to a ton of Luther Burden. Christian Watson, as I mentioned, I'm going to be targeting that passing game, so I'd like to get more than the 9% I'm getting right now. I do like Emeka Egbuka a bit. Again, I'm playing some Baker Mayfield stacks, currently getting to 7%. Wouldn't mind boosting that up. The spots that I'm getting to that others are not getting to very much, at least they're not projected to as of right now. I really like Chris Godwin, 5,300 projected for 3% ownership. We saw his route participation jump in a big way from his first game back from injury to his second game back was at like 60%. I think it was a jump of like 22% or something in terms of route participation. I think we could just continue to see that move up. It might, maybe it's not a trend, maybe 60% is just where he's going to be at. But my expectation is that we continue to see that route participation jump week over week. And he's just a really talented receiver. Already his separation has been pretty strong. And he's only, 5,300. Nice matchup with the Saints. So I like Chris Godwin quite a bit. I'll be getting to him in some of my stacks with Baker Mayfield. DJ Moore, I think, also theoretically benefits with Rome Odunze. Already was running more routes than Rome Odunze, but I would expect the target share to be a little bit stronger with Odunze, also only projected for 2% ownership, 4,800. They give him some carries here and there. He's been more involved recently. So DJ Moore, I have a lot of interest in, again, that game environment that I like quite a bit. Olamide Zaccheaus already getting to a bit. I assume he's going to take on more of the slot role with Rome Odunze out and Luther Burden kind of step over and take on more of the outside role for the Bears. Who knows how it's going to break down, but all of them should benefit all of the Bears receivers. So I have interest there. And then finally, Romeo Doubs, only 4,900, projected for 4% ownership. Again, it's an elite matchup for receivers against the Bears. I'm getting to 4.7%. I anticipate being more over the field than that. I want to have at least double-digit exposure to Romeo Doubs. That's just one of the game environments, one of the team stacks that I'm targeting pretty heavily. So I'll be boosting Romeo Doubs as well. I'm not going to do it in this video, but for my final run of the Sims, I think I'm going to make sure that I have more than the 1% of Devonta Adams I'm getting right now. 7,700, his price is getting up there, but they're really just throwing him the ball in the end zone. He's always live for multiple touchdowns. So I don't, even at 9% ownership, I think I want to have some Devonta Adams, also a fun game environment. So there's one that I'm going to make sure I am getting more than the 1% I'm getting to currently. Adonai Mitchell, 4,600, getting a ton of ownership, but he is just seemingly the alpha there for the Jets. So I wouldn't mind. I'm going to make sure that I have some Adonai Mitchell in my final run. And then don't tell anybody I said this. I am a Vikings homer. I can't help myself. I'm going to have more than 1% of Justin Jefferson, even with JJ McCarthy back. Actually, probably better with JJ McCarthy back instead of Max Brosmer. You don't need to tell me on this one, but I think Justin Jefferson, just seeing the name, seeing the price tag is too low. And he has had, moments with JJ McCarthy. They haven't put it together for a full game, but I still think it is possible, especially in a nice matchup with the Commanders. So I will make sure that I have more than 1% of Justin Jefferson as well. Tight end, I generally think I'm pretty happy with what I'm getting. I like Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, Tyler Warren. I think those three elites are like big targets of mine at tight end. I also think Dalton Kincaid, I'm actually probably going to boost him up more than the 11% I'm getting to currently. Just tight ends against the Bengals is a cheat code. So with Dalton Kincaid, if he ends up playing, which I think is still questionable, I'm going to have a lot of interest in Dalton Kincaid. If he ends up sitting, I'll probably play a little bit of Dawson Knox. Just whoever the starting tight end is for the Bills, I'm going to have interest. But generally, I like the elites here. I'm not getting too weird. Colston Loveland, I think, also benefits from Romo Dunze being out. I'm already above the field there. I don't need to get too much more than what I'm getting. So generally, I'd say I'm kind of on the same page as what I'm getting in the Sims with tight ends. So again, some themes here. I like the Buccaneers quite a bit. I like both the passing game and the running game. So the easiest way for me to get more of both is just to give the team more points scored and more plays run. So I'm going to move the point scored from 25 to 27 for the Bucks and the pace from 60.3 to 63. Now, before I make any changes to the players, I'm going to click this Smart Adjust button. What that does is it proportionally makes changes. So if I change the rushing market share for a player, it's going to proportionally change the rushing touchdown market share as well. So I'm going to do that for Bucky Irving. I assume that he's going to take on a bigger workload week over week. So I'm going to bring down Sean Tucker's rushing market share to 20% and bring Bucky Irving up to 50% of the rushing market share. We'll see if that's enough for me to get some Bucky Irving in my lineups. And then Chris Godwin, again, I have a lot of interest. I'm just going to move Tez Johnson down to a 10% receiving market share and bring Chris Godwin up to 19%. Now, those numbers are not going to add up exactly to 100%. So I'm just going to click the normalize button. That brings everything to 100% across the team. Again, I'm not going to make changes, all the changes that I talked about. I'm just going to make a few. I will give a little boost to Aaron Jones. I think he's a nice price at 5,300. So I'm going to give Aaron Jones a bit more of the rushing workload for the Vikings. So I'm going to, again, make sure the Smart Adjust button is working. I'm just going to bring Jordan Mason down to 35% of the rushing market share, Aaron Jones up to 50%. And then I also do like Justin Jefferson, but this is not one that I feel strongly enough that I necessarily need to make this change. But since I'm already on this page, I'm just going to give a slight boost to Justin Jefferson, bring Jalen Naylor down to a 9% receiving market share, Justin Jefferson up to 31%, and then I'll click normalize. I'm also going to give a slight boost to Derrick Henry here. So I'm going to, again, the Smart Adjust button is on. I'm going to just reduce Keaton Mitchell's workload from a 12% market share down to a 6% market share. And then I'll bring Derrick Henry up to a 66% market share. And finally, the Bears-Packers game is where I can find a lot of plays that I'm interested in. Starting on the Bears side, I'm getting to a ton of Luther Burden, not really getting to much DJ Moore, and I'm getting to a bit of Olamide Zaccheaus as well. I'd like to get to more of DJ Moore, so I'm going to give a little boost there. I do think this is one where, because I like both sides of the game and I kind of want some game stacks, I'm actually going to start at just the team level. I'm going to change the Bears points scored from 19 just up to 20. I'm going to keep the pace the same because they're already expected to play at a very fast pace. And then the Packers from 25.5, I'm going to move them to 27, the pace from 58.5 to 61. I think that should help a bit just to get more of this game environment in general. But as far as individual plays, I do want to, again, get to more of DJ Moore. So I'm just going to get rid of Devin Duvernay. I think his workload at all. I'm going to move him down from 3.7% receiving market share. First, I'm going to click the Smart Adjust button, move Devin Duvernay down from 3.7% just to 0%, and then move DJ Moore up to 20%. I'll click normalize to bring that all to 100% overall. I am considering if I maybe want to move Luther Burden down a little. I think I'm actually going to, because I moved up the point scored for the Bears. I was already getting to 51% Luther Burden. This seems like a hefty market share. Obviously, he's been earning targets at a high rate, so maybe this is legit. But I don't think I need to have 70% Luther Burden. That's not a stand I feel strongly enough about to get even more than I'm already getting. So I'm actually going to move Luther Burden down to a 22% receiving market share, and then I'll give 1.6 back to Devin Duvernay. On the Packers side, I think just moving up their points scored and number of plays run might be enough to get me more of Romeo Dobbs along with Christian Watson, maybe some Dontavian Wick. So I think generally what the changes I've made should be enough to get me more of the players I want, along with I like Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs a bit as well. I think this might be enough just to get to the players that I want. Just to make sure I get to some Dobbs, I'm going to move Matthew Golden down to a 10% receiving market share. Again, it's unclear as of right now if he's even going to play. I'm going to move Romeo Dobbs up to a 20% receiving market share. All right, so with those changes, I'm going to click the Sim Runner Pro button to get the second set of sims running. All right, so the second set of sims are run. Top lineup, top four are all Daniel Jones stacks. Top one is Daniel Jones, double stacked with Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman. Doesn't have any Jaguars, has James Cook, Kenneth Walker, Luther Burden, Kyle Pitts, Devin Achane, and the Steelers defense. Second lineup is Daniel Jones, triple stacked with Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, and Tyler Warren. No Jaguars, has James Cook, Breece Hall, Emeka Egbuka, Luther Burden, and the Broncos defense. The top non-Daniel Jones lineup now is a Caleb Williams triple stack with Luther Burden, DJ Moore, and Colston Loveland. Doesn't have any Packers bringbacks, does have Devin Achane, James Cook, JSN, Mark Andrews, and the Titans defense. Quarterback exposures after making those changes in double digits, I have 13% Jordan Love, 23% Daniel Jones, 10% Sam Darnold. Those are the only three I have in double digits. At running back, I have 33% Devin Achane, 23% James Cook, 24% Bijan Robinson, 20% Ashton Genty, 13% Derrick Henry, 13% RJ Harvey, 10% Quinshon Judkins, 13% Kenneth Walker, 13% Travis Etienne. At wide receiver, I have 25% JSN, 26% Christian Watson, 18% Emeka Egbuka, 28% Alec Pierce, 33% Luther Burden, 13% Michael Wilson, 20% Zay Flowers, 29% Michael Pittman, 14% Romeo Dobbs, 12% Trey Tucker, 11% DJ Moore, 10% Devon Vele, 12% Olamide Zaccheaus. At tight end, I have 28% Trey McBride, 29% Brock Bowers, 32% Tyler Warren, 13% Kyle Pitts, 13% Isaiah Likely. And at defense, I have 23% of the Broncos, 17% of the Browns. So again, at quarterback, I was mostly happy with what I was getting, but my big focus in my changes was to get more of Baker Mayfield and Jordan Love. You can see here, I'm now at 13% Jordan Love, so that worked out. I'm well over the field now. Baker Mayfield, I'm at 8%, so boosted that from where I was previously. So generally, I'd say that the changes worked to get me closer to where I want to be with my quarterbacks. At running back, I gave direct boost to Derrick Henry and Aaron Jones, and indirectly I gave a boost to Josh Jacobs by boosting the Packers. With Josh Jacobs, I didn't really get to much more. I still have just 4% Josh Jacobs. I do have 13% Derrick Henry now, so boosting him up specifically did get me to more of Derrick Henry. Also not getting to a ton of Aaron Jones. I think this is more than I was getting before, but I'm still under the field with just 4% Aaron Jones after the changes I made. Generally, I'd say I'm not too far off from where I want to be with running backs. I don't love that I lost some of my James Cook exposure in that run of the Sims. I like James Cook quite a bit, but I'm still pretty close to the field there. Derrick Henry, I'm glad I'm in double digits now. Wouldn't mind getting to more Josh Jacobs, but as long as he's projecting for 26% ownership, I can see why the Sims don't love him as a play. He's not popping in the best lineups because he's just a bit over owned at 26%. I still might want more than 4%. And then, yeah, Aaron Jones, I got to 4%. I don't feel that's strongly enough about Aaron Jones that I think I need to get, double digits. I wanted to get to some Aaron Jones. Maybe I want more than the 4%. But if I get, double this, get to like 8%, I think I'd be happy with that kind of Aaron Jones exposure, especially if he does come in at 10% projected ownership. That's higher than I've seen and higher than I expected with Aaron Jones. And actually, Bucky Irving is another one that I boosted up. I'm still getting to 3%. That is one that I want to make sure I get to more Bucky Irving. So I will be boosting Bucky Irving further when I run the Sims for my final lineups. At wide receiver, I gave a boost to the Packers and the Buccaneers. I'm now getting to 26% Christian Watson, so I'm actually over the field. I was only getting like 9% previously. I am taking a stand on playing the Packers passing game, so that makes sense. I'm getting to 18% of Emeka Egbuka now. I think that makes sense. I think Emeka Egbuka is not my biggest priority on the Bucs, but I think he's a strong play, so I like having a lot there. I actually have less of Luther Burden now after moving him down while boosting the Bears. I'm now at 33%. Really happy with 33% Luther Burden, still taking a big stand, but not, resting my entire day on his performance. I'm up to 14% Romeo Dobbs now. Happy with that. 11% DJ Moore. Looks great. He's projected for 2% ownership, so I'm well over the field there. Chris Godwin, I actually think I'm going to boost up even further. He's projected for 3% ownership. I'm now at 6%. I think I'd like, at least 15% or so of Chris Godwin, just a stand that I'm willing to take because I think there is big upside there. Even if the floor I still think is relatively low as he returns from injury, I think there's big ceiling there for Chris Godwin. So that's going to be one of the bigger stands I take. So I will boost up Chris Godwin further. I should note Michael Wilson. I'm only getting to 13% of Wilson. I can't decide what I'm doing with Michael Wilson. I think it's probably a good enough spot. He's 5,600, should see like 12 targets, I think is kind of the expectation with Michael Wilson. Tough matchup with the Rams is the one downside there. So I don't think it's guaranteed to hit, and he is kind of chalky. I suspect, though, I'm actually going to boost up Michael Wilson and get at least closer to the field at 28%. I don't want to have a major underweight stance there because I do think he's in a great spot. We've seen him with Marvin Harrison out. He just gets a ton of targets, and he's at 5,600. The price is actually down from where it was relative to the last game with Marvin Harrison out. So I like Michael Wilson here. Don't love the matchup, but I'm probably going to boost him and get a bit more there. At tight end, again, if Dalton Kincaid ends up being active, I'm going to make sure I have double digits at least. I'm only getting to 5% in this run of the Sims. That's something I would definitely boost up, try to get to more Dalton Kincaid against the Bengals. Just a fantastic spot there, even for a part-time player. Dalton Kincaid going to look great. So I'll boost that for sure. Generally, though, happy with getting to a ton of McBride, Bowers, and Warren. I think the three elites makes a lot of sense as being, the exposures that I get the most. Right, even with the field on Colston Loveland. Wouldn't mind getting a bit more Colston Loveland. And then Bretton Strange, I didn't bring up before. I actually think he's kind of a target at 3,900, 6% ownership. Not an elite spot against the Colts, but Bretton Strange has been a big target of Trevor Lawrence's when he's been active this year. He seems to be a focal point of the Jags offense. So I would like more than the 3% I'm getting to right now. Not going to take a huge stand there because I like the elite so much, but I think I'd like at least double-digit exposure to Bretton Strange. One more reminder to please like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already subscribed. I am trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the NFL season. And if I do, I'm going to do a giveaway of some Flannelverse hats and some memberships to the YouTube channel. So if you could help me get to 6,000 subscribers, it would be very much appreciated. Normally, I do like to run the Sims, a handful of times, 5 or 6 times, but I don't run my Sims on Saturday. I don't make my final lineups on Saturday because we might get news overnight on Sunday. I just like to have the most updated information when I actually make my lineups, have the most updated ownership information as well as just who's in and who's out. So I'm going to be making my lineups on Sunday. I'm not going to keep running the Sims here. I've kind of gone over some of the angles that I like on this slate, some of the things that I plan to do on Sunday, but I'm not going to keep running the Sims over and over because it's kind of a worthless exercise to spend that much time on it on a Saturday when really we're going to have so much more information on Sunday. So I'll wait to do my final Sims on Sunday morning. Would recommend that you should probably do the same as well. You want to make your lineups when you have the most information possible. But if you're running the Sims yourself, if you're not already subscribed to Run the Sims, again, you can use promo code Neil to get 10% off your first payment on any NFL product at Run the Sims. Check it out if you haven't already done so. If I don't see you in week 15, because again, I'll be traveling, I'll be back for sure in week 16. So hope to see you soon. And of course, I'll be back for Sunday Night Football this week. And we'll be doing regular showdown content every week of the NFL season. Thanks for watching and good luck this weekend.